Welcome to the Loverage Legacy Program, show, presentation, however you'd like to frame it up. Dr. Stephen Hobbs here. Today, let's take a look at this really wonderful life metaphor of heart, head, and hands. And I've used it in different kinds of combinations. So I might say head, hands, and heart. It's a wonderful life based metaphor that connects with your body that you can use to explain aspects of your living. And that's why I so enjoy it. And I thought that we could use it to explore and discover some elements of legacy that I think are of importance for anyone who is 55 plus years young, who is looking at living from the legacy they intend to leave. And the possibility here is that the word legacy is just starting to creep into the words that you're using to describe living your life, or it may actually be very present for you because you've decided to live from your legacy. So, whatever and wherever legacy is popping into your vocabulary, whether it's close or on the horizon, this notion of head, heart, and hands, heart, head, and hands, whichever way you may want to use it, is something that is of value. And I'm going to link it to what I call the legacy matrix. It's a 9-box matrix, and we're going to go over boxes 1, 2, and 3 today to make a connection for you so that you might be able to get more ideas about this notion of a prevention approach, a prevention mindset, a preparation approach, whatever way you want to look at it, as you get ready to move into your legacy from a years young perspective. Now, this morning, what I did was I actually thought about where am I in my life? And I'm just a couple of steps away from my 70-year young door. And I was thinking about, well, where am I in my life and what's happening? And that got me sparked about more ways in which to bring this story of legacy to you through the Loverage Legacy show. And what it did for me was it really gave me an insight into how am I looking at my aging process, and so as not to get caught thinking about myself as years old. That's why I use the word years young. And I sort of reflected on where I've been, what I've been up to, and I realized is that I'm celebrating about 40 plus years of entrepreneurial work, and I've got lots more to go. And then I started thinking about some of the activities I've been involved with, and I actually remembered that I was in my early 50s when I was still a whitewater rafting guide. And I gave it up, even though I loved doing it. I did it for 22 summers, is that I had to move away from it because of a safer perspective. I knew that I could take care of the raft and the group that I had, but I was often charged with being the leader of the rafting trip as a whole. And that meant that I had to take into consideration all the other rafts. And there were some trips where we had 5 to 10. I've actually led times when there was like 15 rafts, and I had to sort of split it up. But it was it was a fair bit of accountability that I had to make sure that everything was okay. And as I got into my early 50s and I realized, where was my strengths and what did I want to do, I realized that I'm going to start looking at closing off this chapter of my life and still participate in the outdoors, but not from a rafting guide perspective. But I was in my 50s, and I know that a lot of the young people who are doing rafting start their 18 to 20, and those were a lot of the other rafting guides that I was working with at the time. I mention it because you will probably pick up magazines that are talking about the new 50 is 60 and the new 60 is 70. We're pushing things out a little bit all the time. I more affectionately call I'm pulling. I'm bringing my life into those years young, and I'm going to enjoy it. Another way of saying that is I'm adding a lot of dashes between that year of birth and that transition year that's way in the future. I'm going to add a lot of dashes to be able to describe and explain the things that I've enjoyed doing. And one of those now is this whole story of legacy. And I realized that I have my own legacy story, which is based on eco-creation, helping, guiding people in their ecological decisions about being with the planet. And I got thinking, well, if I'm doing that, what might I do to help others figure out what their legacy project and story and contributions are about? And that got me into taking, I'll say, a step back so that I could take about 10 steps forward. Was what could I do to guide people in understanding about their legacy and their legacy pathway? And that's what got me moving down my pathway of this 9-box matrix, which I'm going to share the first 3 boxes with you, because I think it's a really great way to get yourself organized. If there's anything I learned from my consulting days, was this notion of the organization of work. And a lot of people will use the word organization as though it's the organization as in the legal entity. But what I always thought about was the organization as the act of organizing, putting words and phrases into action outcome statements with a verb and a noun. And how would I enact those? And where would I have my accountability, my responsibilities? I was thinking about this notion of movement and profitability. And that helped me a lot in the creation of a lot of tips and tools and techniques and technologies that were in for assistance with people who were going through transition. And that's something I'll bring up another day, because I know uh, that some of you are 55 plus year young professionals and you're still in the workplace. That's why you're transitioning at this point in time. So you could be called a transitioner and you're moving towards your next 50. And so one of the legacy projects that you could do now is how to transition from where you are now in the organizational work and using some other tools and techniques that would enhance the legacy in the workplace. We sometimes link that to words like reputation and how do you want to be remembered. And I'm going to cover some of those because I did work in that area, and in issues or in presentations along the way, I'll certainly cover off some of those ideas with you. I called it the well living workplace, a place of work where you live and work well together. But that's for another day. I want to get into the notion of the 9 boxes and to be able to illustrate the first 3. So I'm going to use my whiteboard here and to be able to just sort of highlight some ideas here for you. So the notion is, you have the 9 boxes and you have to appreciate the drawing. It's going to be all freehand and we'll just enjoy ourselves as we go. But there will be a set of drawings that will be made and be made available, and you'll be able to pick them up off the website if you go to the blog. So wealthmovement.com, WELLTH movement.com /wealth-blog. and you'll be able to pick up, because this video will be there and the resources to go with it. So this 9 boxes here, I call it the legacy matrix. And yes, I'm having some fun. And they are numbered in the following way. And I'm going to look at the first 3 today. And next Saturday, I'll pick up the middle 3. And then the Saturday after that, I'll take the top 3. Now, what I'm doing here is, by bringing it back to the metaphor, I'm suggesting the use of this matrix and the use of that metaphor is in the following way. Is that what we're doing is we're looking at the heart aspect of it that takes us into the head, that then takes us to the hands. So from a heart perspective, what I'm suggesting is that there's a feeling aspect here that goes into understanding about your legacy. And again, I think it would be helpful to just share with you that legacy for me is about the useful whats that you gift others so that they can learn something from your lived experience. If you have those years young and you picked up lived experience along the way, I'm sure, and you find yourself 55 in this transition, maybe your marker's 65, 60, 70, 67 and a half, whatever it might be. There's a bit of a marker in front of you where you want to transition into your next 50. Now, some people started at 50, I understand, and there's a lot of people who are moving through and they have different markers. Whatever works for you is great. I actually didn't really select a marker, and that's a whole nother story, because I found myself coming in, screaming and yelling, and what is going on? Where am I? And then that 65-year door sort of slammed me in the backside, because that's when I noticed, oh, hang on, I have a pension now. I'm in Canada, so I ended up with a pension. I went, oh, right, okay. And when you go to stores and someone says, well, you get that senior discount now, and oh, right, okay. A lot of things just all of a sudden popped into my living life that I wasn't really paying attention to, because I was enjoying my life so much. And it's probably happening for you as well. So please enjoy. But getting back to this notion of the heart here, is the heart's this feeling, this almost soul way, the soul bringing forth an appreciation of living your life. And what you want to do in many ways is create what I call the seed bed, the heart seed bed. And it's from where you want to grow your legacy. When we get into the next stages, we'll be talking about more the foundation and build, and then being able to use the two of those to involve and evolve. And again, we'll get into those later, but let's stay with the first 3. Now, the first one here is about the sense of clarity. And as you move through life, I believe that clarity is really important, because why put up with all the nonsense? Get rid of all that noise that's really of no use to you anymore, and find that clarity. And that's where it becomes really important, because from a legacy point of view, I believe that elder mentor are words that you can use in your vocabulary. This describe the beginning of this pathway forward for yourself. Elder in a self-proclaimed way, instead of saying older, I'm an elder. Not to take away from First Nations, Indigenous ways of using elder, or in a spiritual, religious context, the use of elder. I'm just using it as a way in which to move from the older to elder, and how important that is. and that decision, and then to move into mentor. So the notion of mentor is someone who is in a two-way trusted relationship, who can learn both personally and professionally from the arrangement, the relationship with the mentee. And therefore, clarity becomes so important to you about your legacy, and to be able to use this matrix in its full capacity. So again, I'm just going to remind us is that this is from the position of legacy. And therefore, the clarity is important here. Now, let me give you a couple examples. One of the things that I've always encouraged people to do in their organizational work and the organization of their legacy project stories, contribution, is to define the terms and concepts associated with the project stories and contribution. In other words, with your legacy pathway. And not assume that people will know what you mean when you talk about your legacy and what it is that you're going to unfold with them or for them, depending if they're assisters or they are recipients. And therefore, to define the terms and concepts is important so you can agree on them for yourself, those who are your assisters, those who are going to assist you, and those who are going to be recipients, so that they understand what you are going to be offering. So if you're going to be dealing with a social cultural issue, then like poverty or an environmental like water, whatever it might be, then you have to be clear about the terms and concepts you're going to use so you can get agreement, so that you can then make the map of your legacy and the plans of your legacy, project stories and contributions, so that when you, in a sense, in the metaphor, hit the ground running, is that you are moving forward with what you want to do. So clarity is so important. And from a heart perspective, being clear, all right, and consistent in that, to clarify from consistency where your heart is in all of this, that is such an important element to what's going on. And I encourage you to think about what might be the values that you are living from, your hierarchy of values. And I'm going to do a show on that one in and of itself. But the clarity here is really, where is your heart in all of this? The next box over is what I call the intention. So if you're going to clarify for yourself where your heart is, your intention is thinking about what is it that you're thinking about from the future that you would like to bring into your life. Now, from a legacy point of view, you could go, well, intention is to leave the legacy. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be clarifying is that how am I going to live from my legacy, so that I can sort of treat those a little bit like a bookends. And in between is the living my life. And this notion of intention is really important, because what it will do is it will bring forward for you, all right, from the sense of the future to where you are now. So if you think about it as where I am now is A and where I want to be is C, then B are all the things that I have to do in between, being, having, and doing. Now, what becomes interesting in this ABC model here is, where are you now as A? Where are you looking to be from a C perspective? And then figure out all the things that you want to do. And therefore, the intention that you are going to live from, work from, is a way in which to think about being for the world, being with the planet, and being from the whole. And therefore, what becomes important with intention is the use of your words. So clarity about from a heart and the words that you're going to speak, right? The words that you're going to write, the words that you're going to share, they become really important. And therefore, intention, the legacy intention words are what you're going to find in box number 2. And we've created a wonderful course called the Legacy Intention course, where you can get in and using different tools and techniques is you can figure out what your words are, word phrases that are linked to being for the world, with the planet, and from the whole. And when you have those words, it's sort of like you've got the sense of the what matters. And you'll hear terms like elder matters and mentor matters and legacy matters. And if you have the words to be able to describe them and explain them, then you're, in a sense, bringing forward the clarity that you have for yourself and those who you're going to interact with. And therefore, you can open up your heart more from this sort of values perspective to be able to share, well, this is the project that I'm going to put forward. Here's the stories and the words that I want to use and the contributions to confirm that I'm doing what I say that I'm going to be doing. And therefore, clarity and intention are really important there. The third one is about branches. Now, the interesting thing is show number 1, I went over the branches, and those are life, leadership, legal, literacy, and leverage. So you can certainly go to that video, and I'll put a link to it. It'll be somewhere around this video eventually. And if not, it'll be in the show more notes. Because when you understand these branches and you have clarity around your intention and the words that you're going to use, then what you're able to do is truly live this notion of legacy. To live from the legacy you intend to share, to leave. And when you have that basics from the work from and from this heart perspective, your heart is full, your wholehearted, your wholeheartedness expression of what your legacy is about, then this becomes very much a seed bed from which you can grow your project stories and contributions about legacy and have this really wonderful way to invite others to join you as you bring this forward for the world, with the planet, and from the whole. Now, what becomes interesting here as well, I'll just add a little bit more about what we're doing, is that from a clarity point of view, we're going to be publishing journals, workbooks, and notebooks and planners, and we'll be making those available off the Amazon platform. So 3 are coming on board in the next week, and today being show number 2, by show number 3, I should have those up over the next couple of weeks. And there's what's called the Legacy Workbook, and it's actually 12 insights, legacy insights, that help prompt you to think about legacy from different angles. They're randomly selected insights from the hundreds that I've written so far to be able to get you to just sort of put yourself in, to get some clarity, to understand your intention and link it to the branches of legacy. So to be able to help out the branches part, what I did was I created the legacy journal where you can go in and journal about the branches and what are you thinking about connecting legacy and life, legacy and leadership, and the other ones. And you can write notes into it. It's about a 100-page journal, and it's there to be able to stimulate your thinking. The notebook that I have actually brings forward the sense of what we're going to be talking about in number 4 here next in a couple of weeks. Next week is is about the legacy dashboard. So I just realized they may have said in a couple of weeks for the publishing on Amazon. It will take place over the next couple of weeks, but we will be covering these other rows over the next couple of weeks. The notion of these helpful um, content kind of documents that you can access, their paperback versions, is to give you more resources to be able to use as you move forward. Also, is remember there is the Legacy Intention course. The link will be there if you want to figure out what your words are, or word phrases. And again, it's a great way to stimulate your early thinking and find that heart position. Also, what we're going to be doing is creating a mini course, and it will be available within the next couple of weeks as well. And what it's called is the Legacy Model Maker. It's a really great tip, tool, technique that you can use to think through the creation of the model that you may want to be working with. So if you think about this as a model and how to make your model, then this tip, tool, technique will be of value to you. And it's something that I have used in many, many different ways, from mergers and acquisitions in my consulting day. It's the same tool and technique that I use when I do my one-on-one mentor, facilitative mentor with those who are working on their legacy. I've used it in many different ways. And I'm going to sort of leave it a little bit with a mystery to you, but once it's up and going, I'll explain a little bit more in one of the shows. I believe it's one of the more fabulous tools and techniques that I've created that can be used not only from a legacy point of view, but anywhere where you are organizing work, you are organizing recreation activities, you're organizing your philanthropic activities, wherever you might be in the act of organizing. This model maker, and I'm linking at the legacy now, legacy model maker is going to be of great assistance to you. I believe that sort of covers off what it is that I wanted to share with you today on today's show. Again, this is the Loverage Legacy Show, and Loverage is about lover and age, so that you understand it's about love rather than rage, if you take a look at the word Loverage. And legacy, about this useful what's that you gift others so that they can learn something from your lived experience, is an excellent way in which to live your life. And as you're 55 years young, looking at the door markers for your next 50, and you have this professional background, and certainly if educating is in your genes, you would so enjoy educating, and maybe your profession was as an educator, then how might you be able to leverage that? In other words, leverage that lived experience so that it's of value to others in and for and with and the world, the planet, the whole. And that's where I would so enjoy interacting with you, to be able to guide you in moving forward. Therefore, I welcome questions. And remember, this video, and it's live on YouTube, is you can go and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you know when the next one's coming up. And these live presentations happen on a Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain, and they go for 20 to 40 minutes, somewhere in there, depends on what's going on. If I get a good chat flow going and people are asking questions, then it'll go a little bit longer. But if not, put your questions into the comments section where you like, comment, and share. I'll answer them there as well. And for those that I believe would be of great value to bring on live, I will do that. And as I move forward and you bring your comments live, I can bring them on and answer them as well. So with that, the idea here is really to bring to life, right? Legacy is in you to gift. And from a life perspective, a living life perspective, legacy is important. And that's my legacy. And another show is I'll share with you some of the legacy projects I'm working with. One is called Growing Optimism, based on a tagline of trees every day. Another one is the Tree of Life movement and the importance of intention and the learning for children. Another one is about a Green Planet initiative that's happening from an eco-region perspective somewhere in the world. And I want to bring that to you, and I will bring some persons who are involved with that to the show so you can learn a little bit more about it. So they'll actually be guests on the show. So the mention to you as well is that the legacy projects I'm doing is the fourth one in terms of helping people understand their legacy, and the fifth one, because I tend to work in fives, is yours. So why couldn't I share with you on a show your legacy project and where you are and what's happening? So I've been shooting some legacy intention videos that are available on Wealth Learning TV, the YouTube channel. So please watch those. And they're about 21 minutes or so long. People sharing their legacy words and their legacy intention words and the projects that they're working on. So there's lots of resources here to really move you forward. And when we get together on the 22nd again at 10 a.m. Mountain, that's a Saturday, we're going to go over 6, 5, and 4. And what we're going to be looking at is the notion of the dashboard, the sliders, and the project. That's what we're going to be taking a look at. So with that, I'm going to say thanks very much for you joining me. Again, comment, like, and share, subscribe. And also, if there's something you picked up from this video you would like to share about what was important for you, something that you might want to continue, start, or stop, or something you may want to add, alter, or delete, then I would love to hear about it. So please share wherever you find this video, and there's an opportunity to put your learning, to write your learning in, so we can all benefit from that. So with that, always remember, and always, is that legacy is in you to gift. Take care.